Chapter 44. Thus Spoke Zarathustra. The game starts with a flashback of Mictum being destroyed by the Gnosis 21 years ago. We already know what happens here. Kevin's mom gives young Kevin the key to Zarathustra, which he later gives to Shion. Then he sends him off in an escape shuttle as she turns into a Gnosis. Then we cut to the current time, and we see the testament surrounding Mary's grave, meaning, yeah, they're on Earth. Lost Jerusalem. We'll get to that later, don't worry. The Red Testament tells the Blue Testament, Virgil, that the space-time anomaly from 15 years ago from the Milton conflict happened in an incomplete fashion. In other words, not only was the Gnosis appearing on Milcha part of Wilhelm's plan, but something else was supposed to happen that didn't happen. Then, after Virgil sniffs Mary's body...
She smells good.
We cut to Shion. Shion, who is now working with Scientia, is seen flying through a large city-like area with ES Dina. Apparently, Wilhelm had Dina loaned to the Kuka Foundation, which is probably how Shion got a hold of it again. A result which I'm sure he didn't think would happen. Anyways, this large city-like area is actually inside the UMN in Vector's S Division, and it seems that they have a spy on their side now, Miyuki. As they are attacked by macrophages, which is a defense system for the UMN, we see an Ames fly by to help them. It's Doctus, and with her is Kanan, who I guess has also joined Scientia. Yeah, you can see why a missing year was so important. Imagine my confusion when I saw Shion suddenly in a mission against Vector and this strange woman Doctus, since I had no idea a missing year existed when I played Xenosaga 3. Anyways, they all land on a building which is a UMN representation of Vector's S-Line division. Here they hope to uncover some top secret data from Vector. Miyuki, Shion, and Kanan head inside and Doctus heads out.
Usus magister est optimus.
Once inside, the group get to work. It seems that whatever they're looking for has to do with the UMN, as Shion talks about how nobody knows who built the UMN columns or the UMN itself, and she believes that the reason for this is that nobody built it. It was already there. And as we know, she's right, as the UMN is built upon the collective unconscious, which is a naturally occurring thing. Both Miyuki and Kanan seem to think that Shion's conclusion is a bit of a stretch. And it seems like Shion hopes that she's wrong too, but the data they're looking for will give them those answers. Miyuki informs Shion that she seems to be getting some weird readings. It seems like someone's trying to interfere with them, but no macrophages have been deployed. Nothing has really happened. It seems more like someone is observing them, studying them. Suddenly, an alarm goes off, and they're attacked by... Gnosis? What are Gnosis doing here? Maybe these are macrophages, I don't know. The group quickly hurry out of Vector S-Line division structure as they're pursued by Gnosis. At one point, a door begins to close and as Shion prepares to shoot it, she sees a vision of a boy, Abel. He tells her not to shoot and the doors suddenly open on their own. After this, they all dive out of the UMN. Now we're in the real world, and it seems like Shion has a really nice working station. She dove into the UMN from her ES docked on a beach in a tropical island. Very nice office. Anyways, once outside her ES, Shion gets a call from Miyuki, and Miyuki tells her that...
Whoa, you look pretty sexy.
Miyuki, you're starting to sound like a dirty old man.
This is not important, but I find Shion's word face and voice so funny. Anyways, Kanan and Doctus join in, and Doctus tells her that she will analyze the data they got from Vector's S-Line division. Miyuki seems to have moral concerns with what they're doing, as it is a crime, but Shion assures her that they're doing the right thing, as the Gnosis terrorism revealed that there's more to the UMN and Vector than the public knows, and that the UMN has a dangerous side the public doesn't know about. Plus, she's convinced that since the Gnosis were called by Joachim Mizrahi, or Utic 15 years ago, that this was probably caused by Vector. After Shion shows that she's still concerned about Cosmos, especially now that she suspects there are ulterior motives for her development, she ends the call with Miyuki and the rest. As Shion walks down into the beach, she gets what looks like some kind of wave of pain. According to her, it's been happening a lot lately. Shion then heads over to a cabin where she sees a message left by her old assistant. Alan Ridgely, who has, by the way, now been promoted to chief, so he took Shion's old position. Alan tells her in the message that Vector has decided to cancel the Cosmos project, as they're transferring the development to the military, who will be working on a new model. While most of the staff is getting ready to close, both Alan and Togashi, another Vector 1st Division employee who I don't think I've mentioned because it's not that important, will be transferred to work on the new military model. So now, Alan is on 5th Jerusalem, the capital of the Federation, and he asks Shion if she'd like to go visit them. So, feeling like she left some things unfinished, she decides to take Alan up on his offer. After changing, Shion jumps inside Iestina and heads to 5th Jerusalem. On the way there, we hear Shion narrating mainly as a way to explain what happened between Xenosaga 2 and 3. I'm not gonna go over it though, as we already know what happened thanks to a missing ear. Then we see Wilhelm in his office in the Dameron, along with the Red Testament. They're both aware that some data from the S Division has been leaked, and that Wilhelm is completely aware that this is Shion's doing. But he doesn't really seem concerned. Wilhelm then asks the Testament how things went at a place called Rennes-le-Chateau. I probably butchered that, but I'm not going to try to say it any better. This being the place where Mary's body is. And by the way, it's a real place in France. The Testament tells Wilhelm that they've transported something from Rennes-le-Chateau to 5th Jerusalem and are ready for the Zohar Project demonstrations. Wilhelm also says that he will leave Rennes-le-Chateau intact in order to give Ormus some kind of proof to keep sacrificing themselves. Like I said before, the idea of going back to Earth is just an idea he implanted in Ormus to give them some kind of a sense of purpose, and Rennes-le-Chateau is part of Earth. But why do they keep saying Rennes-le-Chateau? Why not just say Earth? Well, we'll see soon. Before dismissing the Testament, Wilhelm tells them that Shion doesn't have much time left, as her time with Cosmos has taken a toll on her. What does this mean? Well, more on that later. Way later. Over in 5th Jerusalem, we see Julie speaking to Helmer over a call. It seems that after some fighting, the Migdom system has fallen under control of Ormus. It's like history is repeating itself. Helmer mentions that apparently the Federation has managed to create a complete version of Proto-Merkaba, simply called Merkaba. This is probably a good time to mention that Merkaba, Proto-Merkaba, and even Proto-Omega have all been mentioned as having existed since ancient times. I'm not gonna lie guys, I don't get it. They've all been mentioned to have been constructed during the TC era. Proto-Merkaba especially was said to have been built by Joachim Mizrahi multiple times. But then they occasionally throw in this crap of them existing during ancient times. So honestly, it's not that important, it just bothers me. It's possible that they just recovered that they were created by the ancients back in Lost Jerusalem, and maybe they just recovered it, and by created they just mean that they've repaired it, or I don't know. But it's not important, so let's just continue. After Julie ends the call with Helmer, Kanan steps into the room and they begin talking about an object that appeared in space a while ago. As Kanan shows her, it's a big chunk of Earth. It's called Rennes-le-Chateau. Yeah, this is why everyone keeps saying Rennes-le-Chateau and not Earth. It's not Earth. It's a chunk of Earth that appeared in space. Why? Well, thanks to the space-time anomaly that occurred way back during Grimar's period, Earth was transferred to the imaginary number domain. However, something about Abel's arc appearing made Earth return to the real number domain, or at least a part of it. This part being Rennes-le-Chateau. So it's not that it has been scooped out of Earth or anything, or it's been ripped out of Earth. It's that it's the only chunk of Earth that we can see in the real number domain. If you're confused, just imagine someone is underwater, and the water is really dark and murky, so you can't see them. Then they stick out their hand out of the water. You can see their hand, but not the rest of their body. However, the hand is still part of the body. As to why it's normal sized, I have no idea. Considering that Wilhelm supposedly shrunk it to the Planck scale, but whatever. Let's continue. Julie commissioning the Kukai Foundation, sets up an expedition team to explore Rennes-le-Chateau. She specifically chose the Kukai Foundation because she didn't trust the military or the government because of all the Ormus spies. Before leaving, Kanan assures Julie, who is aware of his and Shion's Scientia associates, that she is okay with acting against Vector, as he is currently under the jurisdiction of 2nd Militia, and Helmer has ordered Kanan to cooperate with Julie. Then we cut to the Durandal, where Mary is talking to Negredo and Rubido over a call where they accept their mission from Julie. After Shelley tells Junior to be careful, as there's been a lot of Gnosis Gaidens in the Rennes-le-Chateau area, Junior ends the call. Over in Mictum, the planet once known as Abraxas, we see Margulis looking over the ruins of his home planet. Pellegrini shows up behind him to tell him that she has appointed Richard and Herman to deal with the Federation heading to Rennes-le-Chateau. After Pellegrini and Margulis talk about the laments regarding Mictum, an Ormus soldier informs Margulis that the Elsa has been spotted near Rennes-le-Chateau, and Margulis prepares to meet them there. We then see the Elsa nearing the Rennes-le-Chateau along with the ES Zebulon, Ruben, and Asher, meaning that the people in the scouting mission are Ziggy and Momo inside Zebulon, Jin inside Ruben, and Chaos and Rubido inside Asher. Once they get close to it, they realize that it isn't just some rock formation. Not only is it huge, but it's got vegetation on it as if it was part of the destroyed planet. But Jin says that the perfect shape of the underside makes it unlikely to have been a destroyed planet. Immediately after this, they're ambushed by Ormus. Junior tells Matthews to continue flying towards Rennes-le-Chateau while they take on the attackers. After disposing of the attackers, Zebulon and Ruben, that being Ziggy, Momo, and Jin, go to the Elsa to protect it, while Asher, that being Rubido and Chaos, stay behind to confront any reinforcements. Reinforcements which come very quickly, but it's just one unit. ES Levi, Margulis. Margulis heads straight for the Elsa, and Zebulon tries to stop him, but Momo and Ziggy were no match for him. Asher tries the same, but Rubido and Chaos fell too. It appears the only match for him is ES Ruben, Jin. This, by the way, seems to be a finished version of ES Ruben, even sporting 2 swords as weapons. It only takes a few seconds of fighting for both of them to realize who they're fighting just by how they're fighting.
Uzuki!
After some back and forth between the 2 swordsmen, a battle commences. Afterwards, Jin questions Margulis about Rennes-le-Chateau and what lies in there, but Margulis predictably tells him nothing and continues to fight him. Suddenly, a phenomenon starts occurring, which I'll let Momo explain it.
It's a space-time transfer. An anomaly has manifested around the landmass. Imaginary number values increasing. The phenomenon's surface is rotating in reverse phase.
Yeah, that. It seems like a phase transfer bubble is being created around Rennes-le-Chateau. They try to move away from the landmass, but Margulis pulls Jin back to him, prompting the Elsa to attack Margulis to help Jin escape. Angered by this, Margulis throws his ES's giant sword at the Elsa like a javelin, damaging the engines and causing the Elsa to drift towards Rennes-le-Chateau. Insulted by their presence in this most holy land, Margulis goes down and chases them. However, a voice tells him to let them go. Apparently, it's Heinlein's voice. Wilhelm changes his voice when he's talking as Heinlein, by the way. He tells Margulis that they have already retrieved what Margulis calls their saint, that being Mary, and that he has a new task for him. With that, Margulis retreats to a Utic ship immediately. Meanwhile, inside the Elsa, they try to reverse the thrusters to get out of the bubble, but
Damn it, the logical drive is shot. We don't have any power.
I told you they use that for every ship malfunctioning in this series. So, all they can do is prepare to crash. Back in the Durandal, it seems that they can't detect the Elsa's location from outside the sphere that formed around Rennes-le-Chateau, the so-called hypersphere. Chapter 45, 5th Jerusalem. Over in 5th Jerusalem, we check in with Negredo. We see a bunch of Udu waves and hear Negredo's voice. It seems that while Dimitri takes over, Negredo is stuck dealing with Udu's waves instead of Dimitri, and, well, he's not having a very good time. Maybe he should inform someone what's happening to him. But no. Anyways, then we see Dmitry Yuriev still using Negredo's body, waking up to a grown-up Citrine who asks him if he's okay. He just tells her that he's having trouble getting along with his son. Then both him and Citrine head over to a lab where Sellers seems to be working on Proto-Omega, or, well, what is now simply called Omega. It seems that now that Yuriev has gained influence inside the Federation military, he managed to get Celos in a position in the Federation lab. It seems like because the data they're using is from Proto-Omega from Miltia, some things aren't working as they should. That's because Proto-Omega was calibrated to work with an Ormus priest who would be a pure-blooded Abraxan, and would thus have special brainwaves that can connect to the Zohar. But the pilot for this Omega is Abel. Yeah, Abel. The real memory domain observational terminal of Udu. Not only that, but they're not even using the Zohar. They're using an emulator that Celos constructed. It's not even one of the ones that Zarathustra constructed. Because of this, they're actually generating too much power and aren't able to control it. They need someone more experienced, like Ormus. But obviously, they can't have Ormus help them because they're in the Federation now, and Yuriev cut off Vector support as he finds their connection to the Gnosis terrorism fishy and is suspicious of what Wilhelm is scheming. Celos then brings up the new model that Vector is using to replace Cosmos. The reason the Cosmos project was cancelled. Apparently, they don't even know what its origins are. This worries Sellers, as it could be another Vector plot. Apparently, they're going to have a demonstration soon to show off this new Omega's power, and Dimitri has already picked an opponent for it. As he says,
It's the perfect opponent to silence the fools that support Vector.
it doesn't take long for us to find out who this new opponent is, as we immediately cut to the Vector's Cosmos lab and...
Oh, yeah. Cosmos is going to be the opponent for the new weapon in the demonstration.
This is why they say that it's the perfect opponent to silence Vector supporters. They must really be confident. The Vector engineers, however, are equally as confident in Cosmos' abilities though. We then catch up with Shion, who makes it to the space elevator tethered to the 5th Jerusalem and immediately makes her way down to the planet. There, she meets Alan in a hotel lobby. They catch up and Shion tells Alan that he can stop calling her Chief since she's not part of Vector anymore, but he doesn't. He can't bring himself to use her name. I really hate that for some reason. Just use her name! She invites Alan to come up with her to her room. After they both do some catching up, Miyuki calls into Shion's room and she almost blows both of their cover.
Oh, there you are.
Oh? Is that all you have to say to your former co-worker after not seeing her for 6 months?
6 months? We just met last...
6 months ago, remember?
Oh, yeah, right. Has it really been that long?
Christ. After Miyuki teases Alan about how happy he must be being in a hotel room along with Shion, she informs Alan and inadvertently Shion about the weapon demonstration with Omega and Cosmos. Because of this, it seems Alan has some work to do, so he heads back to work after telling Shion that she would be welcome to sit in for the demonstration. After this, Shion gets some sleep. When Shion wakes up, she gets a call from Chaos. He tells her that he wants to talk about what happened to the Elsa, and so they decide to meet in a cafe. Once there, Chaos tells her everything that happened, although Shion can't do much as she no longer works for Vector. After some talking, Chaos tells Shion that she looks pale and suddenly she gets another headache, like she did back at the beach. This causes her to pass out. She finds herself in an area surrounded by Udu waves, and a voice calls out to her in what I find to be a hilarious manner.
Shion.
These are Udu's waves.
Shion?
What? Is it calling me? Where are you? Who's calling me?
Shion. A word to define an individual. Are you Shion?
That's right. I'm Shion. Who are you?
In case it wasn't clear, this was Udu talking to Shion. The reason he sounded so dumb is because, like I said, Udu is a curious being and is just trying to understand humans and everything about the lower domain. And if you remember when I talked about Shion's mother, you know that her talking to Udu is a bad sign. Shion wakes up the day after in her hotel. Apparently, Chaos carried her back to the hotel room. Man, those beds look extremely uncomfortable. When she gets up, she gets a call from Alan, who has apparently been calling her for a while. He reminds her of the demonstration and tells her that he's waiting for her in the hotel lobby, so she hurries down to meet him. After she meets up with him, Alan informs Shion that the contact subcommittee is no longer in charge of the Zohar project. Instead, it's the military and Dimitri Yuriev is in charge of it. They both come to the conclusion that pressure to make a new Cosmos model probably came from Yuriev, as he was a pretty charismatic member of the Federation Parliament in the past and had an influence over the military. Chapter 46, The New Zohar Project. Alan and Shion make it to the building where the demonstration has been held. The same building where the Zohar project is being worked on. They go inside the viewing room, which overlooks the arena for the demonstration, which, as Shion mentions, is freaking huge. The first demonstration commences. This one is a demonstration of the new anti-Gnosis humanoid weapon system, the weapon that's replacing Cosmos. A pillar in the center of the room rises and we see the new weapon come out of it. It looks exactly like Cosmos, except dark-skinned and with white hair. Its development name is TPXX, also known as Telos. Where have we heard that before? I'm sure it's from something that wasn't important at all. She is considered the ultimate finished unit, making Cosmos sound like a mere prototype. Just like Cosmos was going to be part of the Zohar project to eradicate the Gnosis, Telos will now take her place in that respect. But Alan's real problem lies with the other half of the new anti-Gnosis weapon system. Shion doesn't understand why he has a problem with the other half, but as the demonstration begins, Alan tells her that she'll understand soon. We see as a bunch of Gnosis are released from the other pillars in the battlefield, which catches Shion by surprise. Apparently the military acquired these Gnosis from Vector, which makes Vector look even more fishy. The Gnosis begin barraging Telos with projectiles, but as the smoke dissipates, we see that she isn't even fazed by it. This android's got a little more sass than Cosmos. Then the Gnosis swarms her, and Telos blasts them all off of her with ease, smashing them into the walls of the arena. Then with a single attack, all the Gnosis just spontaneously explode. Telos didn't even need to move her position. As one more large Gnosis charges at her, she jumps up and slices it in pieces with ease. Did I mention that Telos was functioning at 30% capacity? Apparently her reaction time and Hilbert effect strength are 3 times that of Cosmos. So, her Hilbert waves reach 3 astronomical units? Shit. It also appears that nobody knows who designed Telos or where she even came from. Then, right on cue, the snob called Roth Mantell shows up next to them. He's the man in charge of Telos' development. Something about him seems to catch Shion's attention, but she says nothing. It seems even Yuriev and Sellers are interested in him, as they have a Salvatore faction soldier run a background check on him, but it comes up empty. Even Sellers, who apparently knows the faces of everyone in his trade, says that he has never seen him. Dimitri says that he can feel the waves of the immigrant fleet on Roth Mantell, that being the waves of a pure-blooded Abraxan. After this, the mock battle between Omega, the other half of the weapon system Alan mentioned, versus Cosmos begin. Cosmos steps out into the arena and a giant gate opens from the ground of the arena as Omega comes up. This is when Shion realizes why Alan said that she would understand why he was worried, as this is the same weapon that they fought against on Old Miltia, except finished. This version is apparently called Omega Res Novae, and it does look slightly different from the Proto-Omega of Xenosaga 2. Nobody's quite sure how the Federation got their design for it, but it's safe to say that it was probably from Sellers. The Vector engineers are in another room and they tell Cosmos to use all her power, and we hear that Cosmos has her old voice actress back.
Acknowledged. I will respond with assault mode, referencing past combat data. Estimating 40 seconds to enemy contact. Maximum output.
Good to hear. Shion does too, by the way, but I mainly hated Cosmos as a new voice actress. Anyways, we then see Julie in another room trying to keep the Omega pilot calm, that being Abel. They have no idea what he is, but they know that he seems to work as a pilot, so yay, using children for scientific purposes. I mean, they know he's been around for way too long to be human, but still. Finally, the mock battle with the Cosmos begins, and we see just how gargantuan Omega Res Novae is. As Cosmos runs up to her, it shoots her with a laser, which she dodges, and then she quickly uses her Gatling gun to shoot it, but it does absolutely nothing to it. Omega tries to grab her, but she quickly jumps out of the way and begins shooting at it, trying to find a weak spot, but it's to no avail. Omega gives her one good punch and it sends her flying through a pillar in a room onto the next one. Shion, worried about Cosmos, runs to a lower level to get a closer look. By the way, this is one of the few times we can get a look at Stellar's Zohar emulator inside Omega. Omega continues to shoot Cosmos, and Cosmos continues to dodge attacks, but in the process, dealing no damage. She even uses her X-Buster from Xenosaga 1. Nothing. Omega is completely unfazed. She then tries, because why not, to give it a kick, and she manages to knock it back. So that's a point for Cosmos, I guess. This apparently manages to distress Abel, and Omega goes in a bit of a rampage, causing damage to the arena. Cosmos does nothing until he begins to charge a shot that seems to have Shion in its path. As Omega makes his shot, Cosmos throws herself in front of it to stop it, but she's thrown back against the window of the observation room. Omega continues its rampage, and Julie orders her subordinates to cut the link to the emulator and eject Abel, thus ending the battle. After this, Shion and Alan meet up with Rothmantel, who snarkily tells them,
It's a shame about Cosmos.
He seems to take an interest in Shion, and Shion is again seemingly distracted by him for some reason. On the way out, they find Julie and go somewhere to catch up. After talking for a bit, Shion finally meets the pilot of Omega, Abel. He simply walks in and stares at a marker, prompting Julie to give it to him. As he begins drawing something on the ground, Julie explains her duties with Abel, which, as she says, is essentially babysitting and facilitating conversation with him, as he doesn't talk much, almost seeming catatonic. As Shion learns that this little boy is involved with the Zohar project, Abel gets up and leaves, and Shion notices that the thing he was drawing was Nephilim, which makes Shion wonder how he knows her. Julie then gets called up for some work, and Shion goes to the lab where they're keeping Cosmos in order to catch up with her old co-workers. Afterwards, she goes over to Cosmos' maintenance pod and talks to her, wondering what Cosmos would think of her if she saw her now. Shion then tells Alan how she feels like everyone has left her behind after seeing how everyone has gone on without her. As she leaves, Alan finally finds his balls and asks Shion out for a meal. To his surprise, she actually accepts the invite. In fact, it was so much of a surprise that he responded as she had said no. But Shion straightens them up, and they decide to meet up the following night. My boy Alan is finally growing up. Sometime later, after Shion leaves, Rothmantel shows up in the Cosmos lab for the sole purpose of throwing some shade.
Is this the Cosmos maintenance room? It's smaller scale than I expected. Did you come to gloat to the losers?
Calm down, Tagashi. I apologize. What can we do for you?
Oh, that's quite all right. What he said isn't exactly wrong. I mean, I came here to finish off the losers.
Rothmantel tells them all to pack up their things, as development of Cosmos is being completely cancelled, and Cosmos herself is being scrapped.
There is no need for us to waste our resources. So we're pouring it all into Telos' development.
Back at the hotel, Shion sends footage of Telos and Omega to Doctus to analyze and gather any information she can. While on the call, Doctus tells Shion that in the data they extracted in S Division, they found a key word, Canaan. She then tells Shion that it's not referring to the Realian Canaan, but to a program meant for observation that Vector has been using for over 100 years. Ooh, they're finally on the trail of the Canaan program. After this call, Shion gets a visit from Nephilim. Okay, now we know things are gonna start picking up. She does her usual cryptic routine and tells Shion that the recent Gnosis phenomenon have not been caused by Lemegeton, as they were 6 months back. Instead, they're being caused by a sad individual who hoped for happiness for someone important to him, much like Grimoire did for Nephilim. Then Nephilim tells her that the only one who knows what she must do is Cosmos, and Shion is the only one who can open Cosmos' heart. So, in her own cryptic manner, she's telling Shion to find Cosmos, and then she disappears.
Nephilim. Cosmos' heart.